A police vehicle must deliver speed, reliability, and authority. But when cash-strapped departments rolled the dice on experimental machines, some topped out at just 15 miles per hour. These are the police vehicles that failed miserably. Departments under pressure to stretch shrinking budgets often look for ways to save money, cut fuel use, or present a modern image. Four motivations drive these choices: cost savings, fuel efficiency, urban maneuverability, and the promise of new technology. Every proposal for an unconventional patrol vehicle passes through a technology review board, usually a three-step process: concept, pilot approval, and final evaluation. A retired fleet manager puts it simply: the hope is to find something cheaper, lighter, or more flexible than a standard cruiser. But on paper, these experiments can look far more promising than they turn out in practice. The Sinclair C5 rolled out with the promise of clean, affordable urban patrols. In 1985, police in the West Midlands and London gave it a chance, hoping its electric drive could save money and cut through city congestion. But the specs told a different story. The C5 topped out at 15 miles per hour, slower than a running suspect, and managed only 24 miles on a single charge. Officers sat so low that truck drivers barely noticed them in traffic. Winter brought a new problem. Municipal test reports logged battery failures in 7 out of 10 units. With no room for equipment and no protection from the elements, the C5 proved what happens when design ignores the basic needs of police work. The experiment ended quietly, its impracticality clear to everyone involved. The Reliant Robin stands out as one of the most infamous experiments in police fleet history. In the early 1990s, Greater Manchester Police leased 10 of these three-wheeled microcars, drawn in by the promise of cutting fuel costs by nearly a third. But the Robin's design carried a hidden danger. Its single front wheel and high-mounted engine placed the center of gravity well above the narrow rear track. According to Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents data, a lateral force as low as 0.3 G could tip the Robin, far below the threshold for most four-wheel vehicles. In practice, the Robin's tipping angle measured just 13 degrees. Officers reported oversteer incidents at a rate of 1.2 per 1,000 patrol miles. Dr. Maya Patel, a professor of vehicle dynamics, explains that once lateral acceleration exceeds 0.4 G, the roll moment overwhelms the single wheel stability and the vehicle tips. The consequences were severe. Multiple rollovers occurred, there were 2 officer fatalities, and a public outcry forced an early end to the program. The United Kingdom Department for Transport responded with an advisory notice, effectively banning three-wheel patrol vehicles with low rollover resistance. The Robin's instability made it a textbook case of how engineering shortcuts can turn a cost-saving idea into a real-world liability. Departments searching for savings in the late 1970s turned to the Ford Pinto, drawn by its low sticker price and promises of fuel efficiency. But hidden beneath that bargain was a critical flaw. The Pinto's fuel tank sat just behind the rear axle, directly in harm's way during a collision. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration crash tests in 1977 showed that a rear impact at just 30 miles per hour could rupture the tank, causing fire in nearly a third of cases. Internal memos later revealed in court showed that Ford weighed the cost of fixing the flaw against potential lawsuits and chose not to redesign. For police departments, the consequences were devastating. Officers in several cities reported fire hazards after minor crashes. The most publicized incident led to a settlement for $125 million and a recall in 1978 of 1.5 million Pintos. Luis Mendoza, a former engineer at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, summed it up. The Pinto fiasco wasn't just a design flaw, it was a procurement failure to weigh life cycle risk against upfront savings. After the recall, agencies rewrote their procurement rules, mandating total cost of ownership analysis before any new vehicle could be approved. The Pinto's legacy is a stark reminder. When public safety meets cost-cutting, the real price can be far higher than anyone expects. In 2002, the Los Angeles Police Department rolled out a fleet of 10 Smart Fortwo Microcars, funded by a state grant that promised cleaner, cheaper city patrols. The Smart's compact size made it nimble in alleyways and easy to park on crowded streets, but the advantages stopped there. With a trunk holding just over 2 cubic feet and a payload rating barely above 300 pounds, officers struggled to fit radios, body cameras, first aid kits, and evidence bags inside. The department's own after-action notes flagged a reliability index of 0.78, far below the 0.93 standard for full-size cruisers. In practice, the Smart Fortwo couldn't match the speed or endurance needed for urgent calls or high-speed chases. Patrol units found themselves sidelined during emergencies, unable to keep up with traffic or carry the gear required for daily police work. After just 8 months, the program ended, a reminder that fuel savings and urban maneuverability mean little if a vehicle can't meet the core demands of the job. The Segway PT promised a revolution in police mobility. Departments eager to ride the next wave of technology snapped up units for crowd control, airport terminals, and downtown patrols. The pitch was irresistible. A self-balancing, silent scooter that could cruise at 12.5 miles per hour and cut fuel costs to zero. Early deployments, like the New York City Police Department's 2009 pilot, drew headlines and photo ops. But the reality was less futuristic. Officers reported fatigue after just 2 hours of standing, and the platform's limited speed made it useless for urgent calls. A municipal audit revealed a 12% downtime rate, far above the threshold for critical response vehicles. Battery swaps, sensor malfunctions, and repair delays turned the Segway from a symbol of progress into a source of frustration. In the end, the device found a home only in controlled settings like airports or convention centers. For daily patrols, the hype could not mask the mismatch between a gadget's promise and the hard requirements of police work. Today, police departments still face pressure to cut corners, but safety, capability, and reliability cannot be compromised. In law enforcement, the wrong vehicle is not just inconvenient, it can be a complete failure.